client recently posed a question to me, and I felt it would be very good to answer for people to hear because it's a question I get from people frequently. Now, her question was specific, but this can apply to a broader array of topics. And she basically said, I want to be a good wife. I want to be obedient to my husband. I want to submit. So is it okay if, though I know the Lord speaks against contraception, he tells me he wants to contracept? And so if I'm obedient to him and I know it's going to make our intimacy better for the sake of our marriage, am I allowed to do that? So I was really grateful that she asked the question, because I said, here in 2023, everything I say is unpopular because here I am, a type A, high-powered woman who's actually saying, no, obey your husband. We got to put things back in order the way God had it. I didn't ask for that, but God did, and it works. So my response to her is, yes, obey God in everything, which means obey your husband in everything, but sin. So I liken it to what happened in Nazi Germany. People said, well, I was ordered to do what I did with the Jews. Well, God has a moral law, and yes, you should obey your superiors unless it crosses God's line, unless it's sin, unless it's immoral. And then you are required to stand up to the authorities who are trying to tell you to do so. That's, what is that? Civil disobedience if we do it in the regular law, but in the moral law, I must obey God first over my husband. So you have to know what is considered sin, what is considered acceptable. So the church has been teaching this. The Bible has been teaching this. Jesus taught this. And it's been the same for 2,000 years. So I would say for you, I challenge you first to know what is good, what is true. That's where you're going to be responsible. So you can't just say, oh, my husband told me to do something, or so-and-so told me to do something. I didn't know. God will judge you on whether or not you allowed yourself to be ignorant or whether you actually sought to know truth. Like this woman who emailed me. She sought truth, and now that she has it, she has to act on it. So I want to read from the Catechism, and it's basically under the chapter on chastity. And it has so many good things in here, but I'm going to go down to the Catechism 2396, which says, among the sins gravely contrary to chastity are masturbation, fornication, pornography, and homosexual practices. It also talks about contraception and other parts. But I bring this up too because it was another conversation recently with a woman who's a very good Catholic, also a high-powered businesswoman, but she also seeks to submit herself to her husband. And it's difficult for all of us. And she said, well, sometimes my husband wants to watch pornographic movies, and so I do that so we can be aroused, and it makes him happy. Is that a sin? Yes, it is. Because your job is to submit to your husband. Your body becomes his body becomes yours on the day that you vowed that the two shall be as one. I don't care what society tells you. It's a sacrifice. But pornography goes against chastity because you are inviting another person or persons into your bedroom. I will say aside that, and I've done plenty of research. I've talked to people who are former pornography stars, I should say. I've not talked to someone who recorded pornography as much as I've talked to the actors. And they have said 100% of the people there have been either coerced into thinking that's what they had to do. They've been trafficked. They've been prostituted. They've got low self-esteem, and they were twisted into thinking that's what they had to do. They were on drugs. No one wants to do a porn video. And even those who are convinced that they do, they've even discussed, it's been discussed how they have to have drugs and how people have to do what's harder and harder and harder to satiate their diabolical needs, which takes them out of the normal husband and wife desires, ways of consummating the marital act. So while I'm going a little bit off the point, kind of going deeper, not off the point, but I want you to understand that we cannot submit to things that go against God. I do remember a video where I listened to an exorcist, a priest who is involved in exorcisms, and he actually also said pornography, every single pornographic image, every image in a video has a demon attached to it, and that everyone who watches that video then gets attached to that demon. And therefore, since all these people who watch those videos are being attached to that demon, they're all attached to each other. It goes deeper and deeper and deeper. But this is why God's moral law is so, so important to know and then to follow. Stop watching the pornographic videos. If you can't arouse each other naturally, there's something else that's impeding it. And often the pornography is impeding it because you are no longer able to look at the bride of your youth and have her arouse you, or vice versa. The Catechism also talks about some of the other offenses against the dignity of marriage. It talks about polygamy. It said it's not in accord with the moral law because conjugal communion is radically contradicted by polygamy. It directly negates the plan of God, which is revealed from the beginning, because it's contrary to the equal personal dignity of men and women who in matrimony give themselves with a love that's total, because now you're sharing it. I've met with clients who have been coerced by their boyfriends or sexual partners into spouse into saying our marriage would be better if we had a threesome. If you invited a third person into the bed. I've seen that destroy more relationships than I can shake a stick at. Because Satan is convincing us that these things are now okay. He's normalizing. It is perverse, the things that are now being talked about. I'm doing a video about this. When I was young, I would have thought this was make believe. The fact that this is not only mainstream talked about on videos, but then happening in people's bedrooms, and them questioning, am I bad if I don't allow this? No, it's craziness. Be chaste. I'd like you to go to the Catechism, whether you're Protestant, whether you're a Catholic, and see what Jesus teaches about the vocation of every human being to love. It's fundamental. Catechism 2392 says, love is the fundamental and innate vocation of every human being. Whether you're married or not, your vocation is to love one another. Oh, so many good things I could read here. But I guess I should end this video. So again, the beginning point of this video is we are to obey our husbands in everything but sin. 2, you need to know what sin is. Because once you know what sin is, you can realign your life to doing only those things that are pleasing to God. And if you find out something you're doing is sinful that you didn't know, like masturbating, pornography, bringing another person into your bed, I think we still know that incest is bad. Pedophilia is even being normalized. I can't believe I just said that out loud. But once you know, then you have to change your actions. Please, please, please don't get sucked into this. I've had this conversation with way too many of my college students who are beautiful, beautiful souls. And the things that they're trying to be convinced that is okay, they're not okay. If you're a college student and you have boyfriends or sex partners or hookup partners trying to convince you to do anything other than vaginal sex, please contact me. I don't embarrass you. A lot of my students came to me because they did trust me in this. And I'll tell you why you feel uncomfortable about it. And I'll help you learn how to be assertive and telling your boyfriends what is and is not acceptable. First of all, none of it's going to be acceptable until you're married. All right. Enough on this topic because I could go on. I'm Dr. Christine Bacon. Thanks for listening to another informational Bacon Bit. Please share this with those that you think could benefit. Remember always to live your life sunny side up.